Hello friends, welcome to my channel Sushant Chesswise. Today we are beginning the crash course in tactics and it's going to be a course divided into 5 different chapters. Already I am doing the chapters in both Hindi and English. Yesterday we saw the Hindi part, today we are doing the English one. So first lesson we are starting with the concept of pin. We are going to discuss when a pin is effective and when it is not. These examples are meant for 1000 to 1200 rated players, means some examples are going to be easy also, so that those who are new they will also understand, and gradually I will take 5-6 cases where some examples will be little difficult also. So let's get started quickly. E4, E5, NF3, D6, and here white goes with the move D4. Standard move, best move in the position. Black played Bg4 here. So we are trying to understand whether the pin with the move Bg4 here is effective, ineffective, or it's just bad or good, what it is. So we can see here that the move Bg4 is of course very bad. It's too early to develop the bishop. Here white simply has d takes e5. Point is after d, qd8, kd8, knight e5. White wins a pawn. This forces black to go bishop f3. Queen takes f3. D takes e5 and white went bishop c4. After the move nf6 here, white got the very strong move qb3 in the game and then later on converted the game. We will discuss this case at the end where we discuss about the effectiveness of the pin. Next example is again similar. White went nf3, black goes nc6, white goes bishop c4, black went d6. Somewhat inferior move, bishop c5 and nf6 are much better. White just develops nc3 and black once again goes with the move bishop g4. Again here it looks like bg4 is far better because nd4 is there in the air, and it looks like how will white exploit, because whenever there is bg4 it is exploited in 3 ways, one of the 3 ways, like bishop f7, kf7, knight moves with a check and queen takes the bishop. Second, he goes knight e5 directly. When after bd1, bf7, ke7, nd5 mates. See, none of these works here. Knight e5 is just met by knight e5. bf7, kf7, knight g5, knight e5. Both the knights are hanging. White uses the third way, h3. Point is simple. If bishop takes f3, then queen takes f3. Black gets nothing here. He has to perhaps play nf6 first, to which white can even go bb5. Here black went with the move bh5, intending to keep the pin intact. But now what happened? The bishop on h5 is loose, and after knight e5 the bishop will not be supported. So white got the very strong ne5 here. Point is very simple. If bishop d1, then bf7 check, ke7, knight d5, checkmates. Black played knight takes e5. It looks like the c4 bishop hangs, but now also queen h5, knight takes c4, qb5 check, qd7 and queen takes c4. Not only did black lose a pawn, his bishop which was pinning is traded. White is ahead in development. White converted the game very easily. Let's look at the next place here. e4, c5, c3. White wants to go with the move d4. Black played d6, d4, c takes d4, c takes d4. Black goes nc6 trying to put pressure on d4. White plays nf3. Black goes with the move bishop g4. Looks very effective. Point is that bf3, queen f3 and d4 is threatened, and after d5 black wants to use the move knight e5. So he wants to use this pin on the f3 knight. Firstly, white can do with the move b2, but then he will not exploit anything. Black can just develop nf6 and maybe g6, bg7. White notices that none of the previous methods exist here. There is no h3 or there is no bishop on c4. But here is the move ne5 where the other diagonal becomes weak. See, after the move bd1 which is forced, if d then qg4, piece is lost. After bd1 also, bb5 check. Now see, this diagonal has become weak. qd7 forced, bd7, kd8, knight f7 check, king takes d7, and just white takes the bishop which would escape on d1 and not knight h8. and next move h8 would be lost and white wins. Now let's have look at the next position which we have got directly. Here black has played the move bg4 yet again. It looks as though this time the bishop is well protected. There is no knight e5, d takes e5 is just there. And how will white exploit this bishop on g4? Here bf7 check, kf7, knight g5 or knight e5 is also not possible. So white here uses a different move order. He plays e5 first. See, very strong and effective. After bishop f3, queen f3, we see that d and then this knight is unable to move because of queen f7 winning. So black had to take d takes e5, and now here white has two moves to choose from. One is ne5 when bd1 bf7 mates, but be6 would still survive. White went bf7, king takes f7, knight e5 check, a8, knight g4, knight g4, q g4. When white got a winning position, black's castling is broken, white is a pawn up, and he is far more active than black. So white is winning. Let's quickly look at a game example which is somewhat more complex. I will explain you some points here, rest you can work out on your own. After the moves e4, d5, e takes d5, queen takes d5, white went nc3, king d8, d4, nc6, black's opening play is quite poor, lf3, and he insisted again on with the pin with bg4, threatening f3 and then to take on d4. After the move d5, he of course wants to use the move ne5. See, this time it looks like ne5 is absolutely not possible. There is just bishop d1 because see bb5 is going to be met by c6. Another problem is direct bishop b5 can be just met by d7 or even c6. But here white saw little further and he realized that after knight e5, bishop takes d1, he has given up the whole queen. Lines look like as if they are not forced, but after bg5 check, c6 forced, d takes c6, whole queen is sacrificed for just a piece here, but see black has no defense. There are two massive threats, one is cb, other is c7. The first point is after qc7 there is cb check, kd8 and not ba8 but knight f7 checkmate. The best that black has is rest variations you can work out on your own. After a6 there is c7, ab5, cd8, rook d8 and nd1 where white is just a piece up and winning. So we saw how the move bg4 is ineffective in many cases. Now we will look at two examples where the effectiveness of pin, we will see how the pin by bishops can be very dangerous, and we will conclude the lesson with that. So we have the first position of the effectiveness of the pin here. This has come from the first example where white had played the move qb3. This is a very famous game by Paul Morphy. We can see that there is a dangerous pin, very effective one on d7, and white wins here in a very elegant move. Normally many people suggest the move rook d2 followed by rook h d1, which can of course work, but it gives black chance to go queen e6 and remove the pin. In some cases he can go be7 castle and give up the knight on d7. But here white didn't waste any move. He uses the bishop's power here and replaces the piece on d7. So he goes rook d7, rook takes d7 and now rook d1. Massive threats are there. First is bd7 and second is bf6 followed by bd7. Black played qe6 and here white can win in two ways. One is bishop takes f6 suggested by many. qb3 allows bd7 mate. After gf there is bd7, qd7, rook d7 winning for white. White was looking for more in the position, so he played bd7 check first. Of course no one would go qd7, there is q b8 check very strong. So black went with the normal nd7 here and see the black king has no place. So comes the surprising move qb8 forcing knight takes b8 and the game concluded with rook d8 checkmate. How dangerously the both bishops used pins. So let's have a look at the last position here. The White pieces are very active and we see a very dangerous spin along the B3 G8 diagonal. White pieces are more on the king side. I talk about the assault ratio in my attacking lessons. White has 5 attackers, 2 bishops, knight, rook and the queen. Queen attacks h7, bishop and knight attack f7, rook puts pressure along with bishop on the f6 knight. One of the main defenders is the knight on f6. White has few candidate moves here. There is the move bishop f6, there is knight f7, there is bf7, there is rook f6 and there is qh7. Lot of moves to choose from. Which one should one see first? Of course there are two which we should look at. One is the bishop f7, rook f7, nf7, kf7. Well, queen h7 is very interesting. Other is the move bf6, which is also very interesting because this knight is the defender of h7. White found a fascinating combination here. You should try to calculate in all these lines and figure out which is best. White finds the tactic in the line bf6. Usually what happens in the third ply, that is on your second move, it is difficult to find moves, or the next one after the second. So that will be our third ply or the fifth ply. So this is the third ply now. See, white went qh7 check. This move itself is not hard to see, but after king h7 the point is rook h5 check, kg8, and now comes the very strong knight g6. There is no defense to rook h8 might whatsoever. Black tried bd4 check in the game. qd4 would have been just met by rook d4, bd4, similar one, just king h1. And see, nothing he can do about this pin on the diagonal. So rook h8 is unstoppable. At the most qh4 when rook takes h4, and again now rook h8 is met. After the move knight a5, white can choose between ne7 or rook h8 checkmate. Some of these examples were of course easy. See, these are meant for 1000 to 1200 players, but I need to build a base for someone who is not a rated player yet. So I thought of making a course in such a way that it is effective for all unrated to 1200 players. There will be 4 more lessons about different themes and calculation. Every alternate day I will be posting these videos. So wish you guys a very happy Diwali. I hope you are finding these lessons useful and instructive. Do let me know in the comments below. Thanks for your time.